Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going, close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Hello folks and welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, a rugby podcast brought to you by the TAB. No, I am not Patrick Jones. I am Karl Tiley. Patrick is MIA. He's taken the All Blacks loss pretty hard last week and he's disappeared. So I'm in the hot seat today and I'm joined by the great Paul Mawate. Paul, how are you?
I'm good. I'd like to correct you. Patrick is not here because he's taken the Manawa 2 loss very, very hard.
Oh, yes. That's the opening line I should have gone with. Damn it.
Yeah, he's very, very sad at the moment. Let's just say that.
Shout out to Otago. Guys.
Wow. It's almost like having Patrick here. In fact, you are the Patrick of the South.
Sub in, sub out, mate. That's what we're here for. That's why I'm here. And also joining us today is Richard Latty. Richard, how did you take the All Blacks loss in the weekend?
Oh yeah, it was a bit of a funny one, eh? You know, getting up so early for it. They were just completely outplayed, and they were probably lucky to be up at halftime. I couldn't believe at halftime Ireland was still paying $4, even though they were down. You know, they had just dominated everything. So it wasn't too bad. It was great. It was a good game of rugby to watch, despite the fact that All Blacks didn't play great. It was probably good for world rugby as well.
I presume then you cashed in at $4 at halftime and made a buttload of money.
Oh, I just had a wee little wager. Probably not as much as I would have liked to, but yeah, I just but the way that the game was playing out, I couldn't believe it. You know, they were still paying that much.
Well, we might as well get into that game a little more. I actually turned it on at halftime. I didn't watch the first half, and saw the stat line before I saw the score. And I saw the 70% possession, 75% territory. I thought, oh man, ABs must be down 20-0 here. And like you say, to see them up 10-7 or 10-7, 10-3.
10-5, I think.
10-5 at halftime was pretty incredible, Paul. Their try was sort of made out of nothing in typical All Blacks fashion. When the back's against the wall, they make something out of nothing. But yeah, Ireland just dominated the All Blacks basically.
Yeah, I think what we've seen this season is when the All Blacks get in a game that's a bit of a grind, they tend to rely on individual brilliance to get them out of jail. And we've found that's not quite enough in most of these situations, especially, as you say, when the stats are so heavily weighted against them. Sooner or later, the dam's going to break, and the opposition are going to come through. And I think that's what we saw against Ireland. Let's not take anything away from the Irish. They played very, very well. I thought they outpassioned us. I thought they outplayed us. The stats show that they had the territory and the possession to rack a score up against us. I thought defensively they were very well drilled. Didn't give the All Blacks much room at all. And yeah, the All Blacks relied on one or two players doing something brilliant, but they just could not, I guess, get any sort of momentum going just with the way that the Irish were playing and the dominance that the Irish had over the All Blacks. So there's a wee bit of work to do, and I'm not sure what happens this week, but Ireland have shown the rest of the world a game plan or a template that you can take against the All Blacks, and if you execute it to a high degree, then you will have or go a long way towards beating the All Blacks.
Yeah, is it fair to say, Richard, that Ireland played that well that they probably would have beaten anyone on the day. Like Paul said, you don't want to take anything away from them. They played bloody well.
Yeah, and you look at that defense. I mean, you'd say you started watching at halftime. The first half defense from the All Blacks was just incredible. Like Ireland was at them and at them.
Down, it was 120 tackles to 30 tackles at halftime or something like that.
Oh, it was more. I think it was about 150. I think. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah. So the fact that the All Blacks defended that well, and then the start of the second half, they sort of just probably switched off the switch a bit, and Ireland sort of ran in there. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to see Ireland sort of losing to anyone when they play like that. Like they were just ball control. They had good ball control. They had a positive mindset. They took there's a couple of penalties they could have taken, and they went to the corner and they scored that try from it. But yeah, they played like they wanted to be there more, wanted it more, and got the win.
I think when you have to make the amount of tackles that the All Blacks did make in that first half, later on in the game, you're going to start paying for it. And I think we saw that in the final sort of 15-10 minutes of the game, where the All Blacks gave away a few penalties, which the Irish then converted into points to make the game a wee bit more comfortable. I think you just have to expect that sort of thing. It's very, very hard to keep that sort of defensive intensity up when the opposition are just banging away at you constantly. Sooner or later, you're going to break, and the All Blacks sort of, not sure if they broke, but they were bent back as far as they could go, and the Irish took the opportunities that were handed to them. And thoroughly deserved the win. Obviously, the loss of Barrett early on in the match changed. I'm not sure if the All Blacks, I guess they had a scenario set out with how they were going to play the game and when they were going to bring on replacements and that all sort of changed when Barrett went off. And then, of course, yellow card as well didn't help either. So.
And then Leonard Brown as well at halftime. So
yes, I'm not sure. Once Barrett went off, they were able to adjust or adapt their game plan to suit the situation they were in, and the Irish they played out of their skin. They played a really, really good game. So they deserved the win. They got the win. Hopefully, the All Blacks can learn a few lessons from this. And maybe this weekend against the French, although you never know what you get with the French. So it's just another kettle of fish. Just tough times for New Zealand rugby at the moment. I mean, the Black Ferns have been absolutely and totally outplayed by first the English and now the French women, that rolling maul of the French women was just absolutely just a thing of beauty to watch. It was just absolutely brilliant. We just thoroughly enjoyed it. So they've got a lot of work to do before their next World Cup. But yeah, in regards to the All Blacks, I think if we can see some improvement this weekend against the French, then I think we can give them just a pass mark for the season overall.
I think if you're going to take any positives out of the All Blacks' performance, for as bad, I don't know, maybe they didn't play that bad. They defended bloody well. Their attack was, you say individual based. They were relying on individuals, but they were still in it with 6, 7, 8 minutes to go, and had Omani and Lowe not made that huge tackle on Rico Ioane in the midfield, there was a very good chance the All Blacks score and take the lead with a few minutes to go. Ended up it was a penalty, kicked the other way, and game over. But it just shows the class of the All Blacks and the black jersey, and they're never not in it. But as you say, we'll look on to this week's game shortly. I just want to touch on a few Kiwi boys wearing green on the weekend. Richard, they must have been absolutely pumped. You could see it in James Lowe's face when he scored that try at the end of the game. Huge from those guys to beat the All Blacks.
I could see what it meant. There's that iconic photo of James Lowe, double fist pump, both when he scored the try and when he got that penalty. And so you can just see what it sort of means to them. They've obviously gone on their journeys, and they've ended up in a pretty decent rugby team themselves. And James Lowe had a couple of really nice moments. I still don't know if I'd have him in the All Blacks over any of the outside backs we've got, but yeah, good on him. He's playing some good footy.
Yeah, it certainly makes June next year, Paul, exciting, or a little bit more exciting when the Irish come here.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I guess when you're a kid growing up in New Zealand and you're playing rugby, I guess the ultimate is to play for the All Blacks. And if you can't do that, then I guess the next best would be to play against the All Blacks. And
if you can't do that, host a podcast about the All Blacks.
Yeah, okay. You've lost me again. It's just, and I thought those boys, they all played. You couldn't have picked out an Irish player and said, "Well, you had a poor game today, son. It didn't really go." As a unit, they all played really, really well, and it was great to see. So yeah. Once again, spreading the gospel.
Yep, love it. Looking ahead to this week, what changes are you expecting to see, Richard, if any? Obviously, probably a couple of injury enforced.
Yeah, I was going to say probably doesn't sound like Barrett's very likely. So obviously Mo'unga will start, and then they'll obviously have probably McKenzie on the bench to cover either 10 or 15, whatever he needs to do. Same with the midfield. It's kind of become a bit of an issue, the midfield. It was looking pretty solid for a while, but Havili he started here, and in every game he just keeps sort of going down and down. He came on and just had no impact in that game, made a couple of pretty bad errors, really. So they'll probably still go with him. It's probably him and Tapia, probably the two there. So they might figure out who's going to play 12 and 13 out of those two.
Surely they keep Rico in the centres.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think he's better on the wing, and then to come in as a cover centre, I was quite liking when they were doing that. He didn't have a bad game the other day, but I don't know. We'll see what they do. I think maybe with Leonard Brown out, yeah, they might go with a more solid experience of him. But I'd probably rather see him back on the wing. Halfback, obviously, like TJ was really good on defence, but the ball was just far too slow last weekend. So with Aaron Smith in the squad, they probably need to.
He just comes straight in, doesn't he?
Get him in there. Yeah. I mean, I think they have to, especially with DuPont. It'd be a great battle to watch. It's what everyone wants to see. And the forwards, I think Sam Cane would have relished that game, but Dalton had a pretty good game as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Obviously, Whitelock and Retallick, they probably didn't have their usual dominance, but I don't think they're not going to drop either of them. So probably just be that, maybe a few background shuffles, I reckon.
What about you, Paul? Any changes?
Yeah, I guess. Look, I agree with Richard. The midfield makeup, or the midfield hasn't quite gelled the way I'm guessing the All Black selectors thought it might. If only we had another option like a Nani Lomar. Oh no, never mind.
Too soon.
Let it go, man.
Well, I don't know. It's just he plays a different style of rugby to all the other midfield prospects that we have at the moment. So he could have added another dimension to that game if he was around. So we've got what we've got. I agree with Rishi. I think Ioane, his best place is out wide on the wing, where he finishes off things very, very nicely. But due to the injuries that we've got, I'm not sure. I'd like to see Quinton get a run there with Havili. I'm just not sure he will. I'm guessing that the selectors will stick with Rico in the 13, just because we've got an abundance of riches out wide. Don't see a lot of other changes. Obviously, probably Moanga starts if Barrett doesn't play. And I agree. I think there'll be a change at halfback as well. The forwards, I think, are fairly solid. The tight five, yeah, maybe Coles gets a start. But outside of that, I don't see too much. Our tight five were totally outplayed last week, and it was probably had something to do with the fact that the amount of defense that they had to do, especially in that first half. So I'm looking for those boys to bounce back big time against the French.
Yeah, I also had Brad Weber circled. Not sure where he's at concussion-wise, but I think if he's fit, he's got to come straight back into the bench. Aaron Smith into the 9. As you say, Richard, that ball was too slow from TJ. He's good defensively around the ruck, but yeah, we missed the speed.
Especially in a game like that, yeah, with the
when
defense rushing up.
You've got to have that speed. And on the midfield, Rico's you've got to have him on the park somewhere. And if we're lacking in midfield, he can play midfield. He would probably start for most international teams in the 13 if he wanted. I agree, he's better on the wing, but yeah, he's a guy, experienced, big body, fast. Need him there, and probably Havili at the 12 for me. Interesting to see. Of course, we are recording on a Thursday afternoon. Team won't be announced until, what are we, tomorrow morning? 9 o'clock-ish tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting to see what happens there. Anything else on the ABs before we move on, gents?
Move.
I'll take your silence as a...
Yeah, move.
Let's go.
Yeah.
NPC semi-finals, as we touched on at the start. Otago.
Oh, crikey.
Here he is.
They beat up Manawatu and they beat them up proper.
Oh,
It was an absolute hiding.
If you want to see a hiding, we're watching the final this weekend at 4 o'clock.
I don't know about that, Paul.
Watch out.
Did you watch the game? Otago versus Manawatu.
I saw the highlights.
And they were pretty good, weren't they?
They were pretty good, but to be fair, Manawatu have basically been dragged along for the best part of this season on the back of one Aaron Smith, and now that he's not there, they lose a hell of a lot. And then was it Cameron?
Yeah,
that's a big hole that's left in that Manawatu team, especially experience-wise. You can see that the effect that Smith had on that team when he was there, and they're a little bit lost without him. So yeah, Otago played well, thoroughly deserved their win, but it was very much an understrength Manawatu side.
Please, Richard, anything to add on that game?
Well, I think you've been a bit harder than Paul. I thought they played well. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the strength Manawatu team, but I think Otago have just gone from strength to strength. They started off the season pretty slowly, but you know they've won 3 of the last 4, I think, or maybe even 4 of the last 5.
4 of the last 5.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of close sort of wins. They've ground them out, but that was we really saw what their backline can do. Like Karl and Ioane had another good game. So yeah, I think that we're in for a bit of a good game this weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, I agree. I've been most impressed with their defense the last couple of weeks. Yeah, they've really stood up. Only led in 16 points there, and one of those tries was right at the death too. Yeah, looking forward to this weekend.
Is this the pick and go show, or was it the Karl and Otago show?
Oh, mate, come on.
Right.
It's been a few weeks since I've been on the pick and go. I'm excited. I'm back. I want to bring the passion to the punters.
Gone from an Otago podcast, from a Manawatu podcast to an Otago podcast with change of host.
I'm filling the seat, keeping the seat warm, just different colours. Anyway, let's move on. to the other finalists, Taranaki. They beat Southland in the wet. Looked like a miserable game. And yeah, I'll be honest, didn't watch it, but they got the job done. Beat Southland 2 weeks in a row. They're into their
Yeah.
final undefeated.
And as we know, traveling down south is very, very hard to pick up points here. You've got to work hard. And then
But-
add on the fact,
It was in Taranaki.
They did Taranaki.
sorry.
I don't know if you know, but Southland only won one game in the year.
Sorry, I meant under Southland conditions.
Well, yeah, they did bring
Good
the weather
save.
with them that time.
Good save.
Neil Finn would have been proud.
Yeah, Richard, anything to add on that game?
Yeah, I mean, they got off to a strong start. I think it was like 10-0 after 10 minutes, and it looked like they were going to run away with it. But, I mean, the weather very much played to Southland's advantage, and they kept in it. But, yeah, I mean, a win's a win for Taranaki. They did what they had to do, but may not have been as convincing as we're expecting. I was on the minus. I think it was 18.5. I don't know what it jumped at in the end, but even with the weather, I would have thought they would have been able to, put a few points on. They were throwing the ball around and trying some things. So it sort of, I think it makes things pretty exciting for this weekend.
Just on the just pulling up the stats for the games here. Taranaki, they're undefeated, but they started the season off with a hiss and a roar. They were beating everyone by 50 or 60 points, it seemed like. But their last 2 games against Southland, they've only won by 12 and 14.
14, yeah.
For that, wow, this website is a shambles. Just FYI. They haven't taken out the games that were removed.
Correct.
Ugh. Before that, they only beat Manawatu by 12. I guess 12 points is still a lot of points, isn't it?
That was a late try as well, that Manawatu game.
Yeah. Just beat Waikato, sorry. Yeah, are they running out of steam, or am I reading too much into this?
I wouldn't be surprised seeing it upset, to be honest. I mean they've had a great season, but I mean they feel like they've come from here and they've gone down. I mean, we saw it happen to Hawke's Bay on the weekend. They were absolutely flying, but Tasman came and they bought their game and outplayed them. So I think it'll be a close game. I think the line's about 5.5 for it, isn't it? So yeah, we'll see what happens. Good
segue. You mentioned Tasman and Hawke's Bay, and Tasman into another premiership final. A hell of a game against Hawke's Bay, Paul.
It was almost. They had the conditions were a lot better than they had on the other side of the. We're up at Taranaki, sorry, and both teams sort of gave the ball a wee bit of air. It was a very, very entertaining match. Could have gone either way, pretty much for the whole game. I don't know, maybe Hawke's Bay were just resting back on the fact that the Ranfurly Shield is tucked away for another season.
Sorry, is this the Pick and Go podcast or the Hawke's Bay podcast?
Well, I don't know. Who's got the shield? I'm just stating facts here. They've played very, very well all season, and they could very well have dropped the ball once Ash Dixon finished halfway through. But they just continued on. They've got a very, very solid squad there. Tasman had to play very, very well to get there to beat them. They have had their, I guess Tasman during the season just fell into a wee bit of a lull, and just I'm not sure why. Just dropped a few games, but they looked very, very good last week. Almost back to their best. So it looks like, weather permitting, it'll be another nice open final this weekend.
Yeah, and their opponents, Waikato beat Canterbury. Been a bit of an up and down season for Waikato Richard. They started off with a hiss and a roar, won 3 or 4 in a row, then lost 3 in a row, and then they've won another 3 in a row. So they're peaking at the right time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, they are, and I think I saw that they're playing back in Hamilton as well. They're in level 2 there, so they'll be happy to be. They've had their last couple of home games played in Aotearoa, obviously. So come right at the right time. But yeah, I mean, from what we saw of Tasman last weekend, they definitely look back to their best as well. So that Waikato Canterbury game was just similar to that. You know, the weather was similar to that Taranaki game. It just was low scoring, a bit of a grind, but they held on. So they'll be happy that they did that, and they coming off that close win over Otago week before as well. So they've sort of shown the last couple of weeks they can hold on and in those tight games. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, I agree. No promotion for the winner of the championship final this year, obviously because of the COVID affected season and the
Auckland
fact that
teams.
few teams cannot play. But I haven't put this on the run sheet for you boys, but off the cuff, what do you think of the 2 divisions and the promotion relegation now? Has the gap closed enough that we could probably do away with it all and bring them all back into one competition, or do you think we still need to split it out like this? Paul, I'll go to you first.
I think we go back to the one division again, and depending on how long you want to make the season, you may not get to play every single team in the competition that you might, unless time allows. But I do think that we're to the point now where we can have all the teams together. Look, there'll be some blowouts every now and then, but that happens in sports all around the world. Have a look at the NBA, the NFL. Teams get smashed all the time, but they don't because they don't like, oh, well, let's make another division. It's just up to that team to pull their socks up and become better. And I think the way you do become better is by playing against teams who are better than you. So I feel for Taranaki. I think the only unbeaten team in the whole competition, and they beat a number of premiership teams along the way as well. So they really have been hard done by. But to answer your question, yes, I think we should revert back to one big comp and work out the schedule and that around just how long you want the season to be, and then the playoffs at the end of the season. Simple.
Yeah, it basically is one competition. You're just playing for 2 different trophies, right? Well, the way they
that's what they're doing now.
Teams play premiership teams. It's
yes,
stupid and hard to follow. Richard, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I mean, much the same. We've I think Patrick Fiske and I talked about it earlier in the season, and we were all sort of pretty on board with the fact that this whole idea concept is past it. You know, like, I mean, you look at the results this year. I mean, Taranaki, as Paul said, I mean, they've had some massive ones against some of the premiership teams. I think they're 30, 40 points. So it's just, yeah, I think the standard on the whole, I mean, there's probably still going to be a few teams that don't get a win, but yeah, I mean, Southland only got 1 win, Northland only got 1 win this year in the championship anyway, so it not going to make too much difference. There was also the idea of sort of splitting it up into sort of like a north and south sort of region. You could have sort of like Auckland down to sort of Hawke's Bay, Taranaki, and then Wellington, Manawatu, South Island. Another idea, but yeah, I just think one division. The teams, what is there? 14 teams, or 12?
Well, I think we could expand the playoffs as well. Just going straight semi-finals, final. I think if we join them all up and have one big premiership, surely we can make it a 5-team playoff or a 6-team playoff, where maybe the top qualifier or the top 2 qualifiers get a bye week first week, and the 3 to 6 seeds play each other, and then and then the winners go through to take on the top 2 seeds, and then we have a final. It only adds on another week to the season, but yeah, just straight semi-finals and final. Just a wee bit too conservative for mine.
Yeah, it's cooked. The NPC as we know it, and this might not appeal to some of the younger listeners out there, but in my mind, it's since I guess the change in the professionalism in the game and the All Black tour is going longer and longer, but since it's gone away from being the premier competition in the country, it's kind of it's died a slow death a little bit, in my opinion. It's come back a little bit in the last couple of years, but yeah, bring back the 90s.
How good.
Can you remember the 90s? Yeah.
Mate, what was that? The 1998 NPC final, Otago versus Waikato, and I think Otago won by 42 points or something. 20 minutes to go, the crowd's chanting, "We won the final."
Oh.
It was great.
Oh no,
Harrisbrook was packed.
Oh, crikey.
Bring it back.
I do have some fond memories on the embankment at Lancaster Park back in the day, watching the classic Canterbury team of the 90s, early 2000s. Beautiful, beautiful era.
Yeah, beautiful era. And Paul was what were the 30s like? It must have been pretty fun too.
Wow. I actually jumped onto Lancaster Park just before a Canterbury Wellington Shield Challenge, and me and my mate ran around the ground with a big Wellington banner, and we got round.
Did you have clothes on?
We got round to
It's a no.
to the terraces, and we were waving the big Wellington banner in front of the terraces. They started throwing cans at us, and some of them
they would have
hadn't
been
actually drunk out of the cans yet. I mean, yeah, all four. They were throwing eggs. Who takes eggs to a rugby game? They were throwing eggs at us. I was standing next to a security guard on the field, and he goes, "Probably a good time for you boys to move on, eh?" If you're going to throw a can, at least finish the beer first. Some of these, they hadn't even opened some of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
those
were the good days.
A lot looser back then. Like I remember when after every game, just everyone piling onto the pitch to get autographs, and we would be, young kids, we'd be out there for an hour trying to get everyone's autograph, and mum and dad just up in the stand picking up those full cans and finishing them off.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Everyone onto the field after the game. It was fantastic.
You say who brings eggs to a game? I remember going to an All Blacks v France game at the stadium here. It wasn't too long ago actually, and I don't know if you remember, but they let a couple of French fans snuck roosters into the game, and they let them go at either end of the field. Probably the funniest thing I've ever watched is the security guards trying to catch these roosters. Best part of the night too, because the All Blacks lost and it was cold as hell.
Vive la France.
Yeah, good fun. Just quickly, a few other before we get to betting, few internationals on, obviously. Scotland, big favourites over Japan this week. Bookies can't split England and South Africa, and Wales $1.60 favourites over Australia. Any thoughts on these games, boys?
I'm sort of leaning towards the English against South Africa myself. I just think it's been a long season for the South Africans, and I can just see them sort of fading slightly here, and I think this will be one that the English really get up for. So I don't mind taking the English in that head-to-head market. And I've been impressed by Scotland as well. I think overall they played very well this international sort of window. So yeah, the two teams I like out of those games are England and Scotland.
Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that England South Africa game. It'd be they wouldn't have played since the World Cup final, would they have? So the rematch it's been built as. Yeah, I think that South Africa had been a bit here and there. They sort of ran away with that game last week in the end, but it wasn't pretty. And England, I don't know, they didn't look too bad against Australia actually. So yeah, probably leaning towards England in that game. But it'll be a big, I imagine it'll be a physical game. And then I think that Japan's a hard one, because they sort of looked really good in that test against Australia about a month or so ago, but they've sort of taken a bit of a backward step since then. And Scotland have they were in that game against Africa for very long, and then and there was a few late penalties. They just ran away with it, but I think it was about 17, 18 and a half the line in that game. I think I might get on the plus in that game. I think Japan might turn up and Scotland will probably win, but it's quite a big margin. So yeah, but it's going to be. I mean, it's huge. I think that Sunday morning of rugby is just it's going to be great from 4 till 11 basically.
Start prepping the wife now, mate.
I always say I'm getting up for the baby, so
I write that. Alrighty, boys. Let's have a look at some betting. This is of course a betting podcast. We'll go around the room. I don't know. Paul, we'll start with you. Best bet for the weekend.
And it can be across any of the rugby, mate. It doesn't have to be NPC, or you can go international if you want.
Be whatever you want. Can be the local 1-7s if you like. If we offer odds on it.
Yep. Taranaki 156. Best bet. Get on.
Richard.
Fair enough. New Zealand All Blacks minus 5.5 against France. Yeah, I just think that France haven't had the best prep coming into this, but Argentina and Georgia, and then they haven't played together since those June tests, and the All Blacks will be fired up and they'll really want to finish the series on a high note. So yeah, $1.87, $1.90 I think it is.
All Blacks don't lose twice in a row either. Not often anyway. I am going Otago plus 4.5. Probably no surprise to you there, Paul. $1.87.
We could both win.
We can.
We're not going to, though.
No, because Otago are going to win. And look, and they only lost by 7 last time to Taranaki, and that was before
they were in that game, eh?
And it was 6 minutes right at the death there. Taranaki scored a try and converted it. So I think they would have taken a lot out of that. Since then, they've gone on to win 4 out of the last 5, and they just lost to Waikato, who are obviously in the other final. I think they're flying, and they can tip them up here. I know Fiske, he's pretty keen on Otago as well. He was last week, and I think
he was very keen last week.
I think he's sneaky keen on them again this week. I don't want to officially say it, but yeah. What about some value, Paul? I reckon I can guess where you're going here.
I'm going to go Waikato head to head at 2. I think they're 245. Last time I looked, and I think and now with the COVID levels dropping, they'll be hosting. They will actually host the final properly. I think that's a big advantage for those boys. So I like the fact that they had a tough tussle against Canterbury in the semi-final last weekend, and I think that'll do them well this weekend against Tasman. So yeah, I think the bookies have just been a wee bit too generous towards Tasman. So Waikato head to head at 245.
Richard.
I'm going to go Otago head to head, $2.30. Yeah, I think that they're well on the shot. Taranaki have kind of dwindled down the last few weeks, and Otago just on the up every week. So, and I was really impressed with them last week. So I think they're well. Could well see a upset there.
Very nice.
See that smile on
I'm
your face,
going-
Karl?
Sorry.
See that smile on your face?
I'm also going Otago, but I'm going 1 to 12. A little bit more value at 360.
I did also have that kind of.
I think they can win. I think it'll be close. As you say, they can definitely tip them up here. So looking forward to that one. Bonus back. Paul.
Yes, we've got bonus back on the 2 NPC finals and
Yeah,
on
give me
the All Blacks match as well. And you want a bonus back bet?
Did you read the
I'll
run
give
sheet
you
or
one.
what?
Taranaki 13 and over at $3.10. Just in case Otago do turn up and keep this game a little closer than I expect it to be, you'll get an opportunity to get a bonus bet back if Taranaki only win by 1 to 12. But I'm fairly confident Taranaki are going to run away with this one. So Taranaki 13 and over, $3.10.
Wow. Richard.
Depends which French team turns up, but I'm going to go with All Blacks 13 plus $2.75. Yeah, I said before, I just think they'll finish off the season on a high. They'll be wanting to sort of prove some doubters wrong for the off season. They won't want to put on another sort of. Wasn't even that last week was a bad performance. They just got outplayed, but yeah, I think they'll be a lot better this week. So 275 All Blacks 13 plus, and if they only win by 1 to 12, get my bonus bet back.
Very nice. I'm going. No, I'm not. I was going to say Tasman. I'm going All Blacks 1 to 12. 280. I think it'll be quite a close game, but I don't think the All Blacks will lose. Try scorer, Paul.
I'm guessing that.
Nothing. There's no teams out yet, so it's all.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Mr. Barrett will be in the 15 jersey. So I'm happy to take him. And I'm also happy to take whoever's in the number 2 black jersey.
You're not like Fad on the flutter. Earlier today, he said he'll just have anyone in a Taranaki jersey at $1.005 or something like that.
Fantastic. So we're thinking of along the same lines there.
Yeah, I think you and Thad are aligned there.
Yeah.
Richard, your try scorer.
I think he scored 2 last week, and he scored about 8 for the season now. Freedom Vakakolo for Otago, playing very, very good footy. Dynamic ball runner, so I would not be surprised to see him dot over. And well, I expect there to be a few tries at Inglewood this weekend.
Yeah, nice. I did have Freedom also on my list, but I thought I've gone too Otago heavy. I don't want to be seen as a one-eyed supporter or anything. So I've changed.
Oh, that would never happen.
I've changed. I've gone the man that's keeping Freedom from topping the try scoring charts, and that's Lester Whainganuku for Tasman, leading the comp. Started with a Hassan Roy. I think he scored 6 in his first 5. Had a wee lull, but he's dotted down twice in his last 2 games. So
he was amazing last week. He had a good game. Won the game obviously with intercept and set up that second last try as well. So yeah, that's a good shout.
Big game from Leicester. And finally, boys, a multi-anchor for the weekend. Paul, I think I know where you're going. Taranaki at $1.56.
Taranaki, yep. Thank you.
Richard?
I take a little alternative point start on the Tasman Waikato game. Just go Tasman plus 5.5 at $1.25.
Nice. For an anchor, I'm getting a little bit leery here. I'm just going to go ABs head to head. 143.
Nice.
Right, let's settle. What, sorry?
I don't think they'll lose, so yeah, that's safe.
No. That'll do us, lads, for this week. Maybe the last show of the year, is it? There's not a lot of rugby on after this week.
No, not a lot.
No.
And by not a lot, I mean none.
Boo.
So
perfect.
Thank you, boys, for having me this week and allowing me to sit in the hot seat.
Thanks for guiding us on this journey.
I'm guessing that you're saying this is the last show because you don't want to go over the bones of the Otago team after they get smashed by Taranaki this weekend.
Oh, I mean, we can do a recap
Season
pod if you like.
review.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll see how we go.
Play by ear. Yep.
Yeah.
Punters out there, good luck on the punt this weekend on the rugby. Go well. And we will see you next time on the Pick and Go. Cheers.